bulging discs, disc herniations, it's very important that we address it, okay? Surgery is not the number one thing to do, so we want to address that. So, Doc, tell us.
My office is radiological, okay? I do everything radiological you could think of, except maybe just a couple things. But I also am very interested in a lot of other areas. And one of that is non-surgical treatment of herniated disc in the neck and the back. And I don't know, I've been doing this since 2002 or 3, something like that, so I have a lot of experience in it. But I've treated all kinds of different patients with that I would not expect maybe even to done well with this, but I've had very good success with all across the spectrum. But the procedure is basically a machine that very carefully, in a very controlled fashion, develops a negative pressure in the disc. And that negative pressure in the disc causes a healing process of the disc. You get an influx by diffusion. You get an influx of the fluid from the blood oozing into the disc. There are no blood vessels going in or out of the disc. And so if you have a damaged disc that's in between the vertebral body, the disc is in between, it's a little disc. When the pressure is too high for the axial pressure, the disc is spread out. Well, it finally becomes called a herniated protrusion, herniated disc, whatever you want. But the herniated disc will pinch nerves, etc., will cause problems. It's been primarily treated surgically. That's one way to go. But you get very excellent results without disruption of tissue, without removal of scar tissue, without a lot of the issues with surgery. And the failure rate with this is, I feel, 0, because you can always retreat with this. Surgically, with surgical treatment, you run out of options real fast, and the outcome is not really as bleak, I think.
So that's as a patient, okay, how does this work? So he has a table. See the table? You lay down on the table. You get like a diaper on. A harness, I don't know.
Well, it's a wrap around.
It looks like a diaper. And they put it on you.
It's
okay?
not a diaper, okay.
It looks like one. And then they put another one on your neck, right?
Oh, well, you don't do treat both areas. Well, there's a wrap on the other half.
You need one in one spot and one. Oh no, one at a time, and then you decompress.
Let's back up the table. We will stand
How
down.
does it work?
And so the patient can stand right on the platform here, and then the table can tip back. Okay, you can weigh the patient, do other things with that. This bank right here has a vector. You can change the pull force. So you want to get perpendicular to the disc of abnormality. It's worse than what's causing the problem. So that's actually the maximal decompressive therapy will be applied at the disc level that's abnormal. Anyway, there's a chart here on this side that shows the ideal curve of compressive force. And then it measures every 15 times a second the measured pressure in the patient. The two curves match directly. So every therapeutic decompressive force is exactly the same and very, very controlled. And so
what happens with this? What happens to the discs, Dr.
Well, what happens is the patient has a wrap around the lower torso, the diaper she was saying a while ago, that you hook the attachment into the decompressive unit. It's going to apply the force, and the table floats apart. So you have another wrap around the upper half to hold the upper half in place, because the body's going to be pulled that direction, and the table's going to float apart. And so now it's like grabbing hold of the two vertebral bodies and pulling them apart with your fingers a little bit.
So doctor, tell me about the science behind it. So prior to going straight for back surgery, why do we want to do decompression? And then you're also using the neural stimulators to help decrease the pain, right? And help the healing.
We do more than one thing. But basically, to get a negative pressure, if you just tie a weight to your leg and pull it that way or whatever, you will not develop negative pressure. And if you don't develop negative pressure, it will not work. So in the early 1990s, I was involved with some original research in this form of potential treatment, and we put some needles into the disc. We put and through the needle hub, we put a little device to measure pressure. And then we applied pressure to the system, and we were grafting the pressure to the amount of pressure, the pressure inside the disc compared to the applied pressure. And we reach a certain level. If you go up straight, it won't work. If you go up slow, more rapidly and then taper off the pulling towards the end, develop a knee. This becomes a logarithmic curve, not a straight curve. And at that time of pulling, you'll fatigue the muscles, and they're holding the spine together. And the neuron, so then at that point it relaxes the muscles. They call them fastidious muscles, but they will relax at that very moment. And the vertebral bodies are not held together by the body. And at that very moment, the pressures are high. There's zero. The pressure's high. They're not coming down. You're applying pressure. They still stay high. They stay high. And finally, that critical point, you go like that, and the pressure goes like this.
And that's going to help decrease pain and inflammation.
Here's the 0 point. It keeps going below zero. It goes into the negative. It's a vacuum. And the pressure difference is by 300 millimeters of mercury. Because it's like 180 and it goes down to minus 150. So it's about a 300 millimeters difference in pressure. When you get that negative pressure, at that point the fluid around the tissues will ooze in, like a vacuum cleaner if you will. It oozes into the disc, bringing all the nutrients, the oxygen, and other things the cells in there need to revive the disc. Okay, and then also when you're pulling that, we injected some contrast into the sac. The disc is pushing in on the sac. When you get that negative pressure, the disc pull away from the sac. We could see that visually as we were doing this, and we were measuring the pressure. So we knew that this device, this approach, would help the disc move back where they belong, and increase the height of the disc base, and make more space for the XD nerve roots without any surgery.
So guys,
we found out in the early 1990s.
Where can we find Dr. Martin if you're interested in spinal decompression therapy? Upper Valley Radiology, 905 East Esperanza, 631-1203.
Yeah, for just a second, I think that's interesting. We're also I'm developing, we're doing another program where we're helping people with balance issues, vertigo, dizziness, and the whole complex thing. So I have all the imaging things that I need. If I have to check out the arteries in the neck, or check out the brain, check out on these things. But the basic study looks at what is causing, where's the problem that's causing the dizziness. So if someone walks into a patient comes to the office and they say, I have dizziness, just don't give them meclizine and send them out the door, because it only works in about 10% of the patients, those that have acute vestibulitis. And all the other people with dizziness, it can make them worse. So you need to find out what is causing that problem. So when you do that, when you do the study, you put goggles on the eyes, and there's a camera that's infrared. It can follow the eye motion in pitch black. And so you put the patient in different maneuvering positions and different things. There should be a response to that. Just watching the eyes, if they track the object, moving object, is it smooth? Is it going like this? And is there nystagmus, which is good? The eye blinks go this way. And when the eyes do that, the patient will feel dizzy, or the room will start spinning around them, or whatever. That's the vertigo. So you find out from that, is that problem come from inside the brain, or is it in the semicircular canals? You find out by the mapping and looking at all this, you find out where the problem is coming from. And so with that information, then you can turn around and focally work on the areas of interest. And then in my same office, if we find there's a central problem, we do retraining of the brain to adjust and to modify and to improve balance issues. So, and it's like you're standing on a round. I don't have the. It's like it's a round circle, and it's like a balance thing, a ball, and it's like a video game with the object going down that, and with their feet. Now this is the mouse. No, it's the feet, and they're going to hold on. The patient's moving their feet to follow the object. And as you do that, it's basically retraining the brain to make adjustments to improve balance, and coordination. It's eye movement, balance movement, everything's starting to coordinate, and the brain's starting to retrain and resend new fibers, new connections to overcome, to compensate for the deficit. So anyway, and then also there's some maneuvers you can do, but you combine the two. Often a patient could come in, they can't walk, 24 hours later they're back to almost normal. That's the fast one. And then the others will take more time, but either way you can usually get patients doing it much better. So I've had patients, we just started doing this about 3 months ago. I've already had patients that had dizziness problems for 3 or 4 years. Nobody's helped them to date, and within 3 or 4 weeks they're better. I had a patient just this last week, he was the same way. Within 24 hours he was almost normal. So anyway, it's another thing we're doing in the office. So and then I also do a lot of with nutrition, weight loss, how do without any pills, without anything that's non-foreign. It's about knowing the kinds of foods to eat, nutritional ideas, and nutritional products. Help people improve all their lab values, help them reverse diabetes, help them increase their circulation, and it's all without prescription medication. So I do a lot of stuff in those lines too. So anyway, I do a lot of different things. Okay, any questions? I said.